I caught my husband cheating. What I did next changed our lives. My name is Emma. I'm 32 years old, and I've been married to Daniel for 6 years. When I first met him, I wasn't even looking for anything serious. I had just gotten out of a messy relationship, and the last thing I wanted was to fall in love again. But Daniel, he was different. He didn't come in with grand gestures or sweet talk. He was quiet, grounded, the kind of man who made you feel safe just by being in the room. We started slow. Coffee dates turned into long walks. Long walks turned into quiet nights on the couch, and before I knew it, he was a part of my life. In the small ways first. A toothbrush in my bathroom, a drawer in my dresser, eventually a ring on my finger. The early years of our marriage were good, not perfect but real. We moved to a new city together, got jobs, found our rhythm. I remember us dancing in the kitchen at midnight after burning dinner, or sitting on the balcony watching thunderstorms, saying nothing but feeling everything. He made me laugh, he made me feel seen. I really thought this was it. My person, my home. But life, as it always does, started to creep in. Work got busier. He was promoted, which meant longer hours. We saw each other less, and when we did, it felt like, I don't know, like we were talking through a glass wall. He started coming home late. Not outrageously late, but late enough to make me notice. He'd be tired, distracted. When I asked how his day was, he'd mumble something vague and go straight to the shower. Sometimes he'd forget things I told him just the day before. He'd zone out at dinner. Stop touching me. Stop really looking at me. At first I blamed myself. Maybe I was being too needy, too sensitive. Maybe I had changed, gotten boring, predictable. I even started dressing up at home, cooking his favorite meals, hoping to get a reaction. But his eyes, they were somewhere else. I brought it up gently one night, asked if something was wrong. He said no, of course not, just tired. I waited a week, asked again. Still nothing. Then I snapped. I accused him of not caring anymore, of shutting me out. He didn't even fight back. Just sat there, quiet. That hurt more than if he had screamed. Eventually, I suggested we see a couples therapist. His first reaction was to brush it off, said it wasn't that serious. But I insisted. I told him I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. So he gave in. The therapist's name was Claire. She was calm, professional, the kind of woman you naturally trust. Not too old, not too young. Warm voice, gentle smile. I liked her, honestly. She seemed to listen, to understand. The first few sessions were hard, awkward even. Daniel barely spoke. But over time, he opened up. Not a lot, just enough to make me believe he still cared. And for a moment I let myself feel hopeful again. I thought, maybe we're doing the hard work. Maybe this is what healing looks like. But now, looking back, I can't believe I brought her into our marriage. I can't believe I was the one who opened that door. She was the one who broke it all apart, and I never saw it coming. Our 6th wedding anniversary was coming up. 6 years. It should have meant something, and to me, it did. Even if we weren't in a good place, even if we barely looked at each other at the dinner table anymore, I still cared. I still remembered who we used to be. I still wanted to believe we could find our way back, so I made a decision. I was going to try. One last time. And this time I wasn't just doing it for the marriage. I was doing it for something, someone, more. I'd been feeling strange for a couple of weeks. Nothing dramatic, just different. Exhausted for no reason, crying at random things, a puppy video, a broken mug. My chest felt heavy, my moods were swinging. I'd wake up hungry and nauseous at the same time. At first I brushed it off, told myself it was stress. Or maybe early signs of burnout. I even thought it could be depression, considering how things were going at home. But still, there was this quiet voice inside me, whispering something I wasn't ready to hear. So I bought a pregnancy test, then another. I don't know why. I already knew what they'd say, and when I saw those 2 pink lines, I sat down on the floor of our bathroom and just stared at them. My heart was racing, my hands were cold, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I wasn't prepared for this. We weren't planning it. But it wasn't unwanted. Somewhere in that overwhelming mix of emotions, there was hope. Maybe, just maybe, this child could be our second chance. I started picturing the moment I would tell him, Daniel. I wanted it to be meaningful, not blurted out between toothpaste and tired eyes. So I planned something quiet, something small and beautiful. I made a reservation at that cozy Italian place we used to love, the one where the waiters still knew our names, where the lights were always a little too dim and the food always too good. We hadn't been there in over a year. I thought, maybe if we went back to where things felt right, we could remember what we were trying to save. And I didn't stop there. I bought a little gift box, deep blue velvet with a snap lid. Inside it, I placed a tiny pair of white baby socks and a folded card that read, "We're not alone anymore." No ultrasound, no big reveal, just something simple, intimate, ours. I even pulled out our wedding album. It had dust on it. That felt symbolic somehow. The morning of our anniversary, I got up early. I couldn't sleep anyway. I cleaned the entire apartment, every surface, every corner. I ironed a linen tablecloth, set the table with candles, cooked his favorite dinner from scratch, the mushroom risotto I used to make when we first moved in together. I bought wine, even though I couldn't drink it anymore. I put on the dress he once said made me look like trouble, in the best way. I curled my hair, put on lipstick I hadn't worn in months. I looked at myself in the mirror, and for a moment, I felt like me again. Not the exhausted, ignored wife, not the woman who was tiptoeing around silence, just Emma, the woman who still believed in love. At 5:45 p.m., I sent him a message. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I have a surprise. I love you." No response. At 6:30, the food was done, still no word. I refreshed my texts. Nothing. My anxiety started crawling up my spine, but I tried to stay calm. Maybe he was stuck in traffic. Maybe he was wrapping up something important. At 7:12, my phone buzzed. My breath caught in my throat, but it wasn't Daniel. It was a message from an unknown number. Just one line. "Are you sure you want to walk into this blind?" No name, no explanation, no follow-up, just that. For a second, I thought it was spam, some scam or prank. But the timing, the exact moment I was waiting for him, it didn't feel random. It felt like a crack in something, like the first drop of water before the dam breaks. I reread it 3 times. Then I stared at the door. I had 2 choices: stay home and pretend this was still normal, or go find out what that message really meant. So I did something I'd never done before. I left first. I grabbed my coat, the little box with the baby socks, and my keys, and I drove. I drove toward the answer, toward the truth I didn't want, but maybe needed, and I had no idea how much it would break me. The evening air was cold and damp when I left the restaurant. A light rain was falling, the kind that drizzles quietly, soaking your hair and clothes slowly without a warning. I didn't bother to put on my jacket. Somehow the chill fit how I felt inside, numb and raw all at once. The little velvet box was still tucked deep in my coat pocket. I kept reaching down and touching its outline, as if feeling it could somehow steady me, keep me grounded. Those tiny white baby socks inside. A symbol of hope I clung to, even though I was falling apart. I hadn't told Daniel yet. I wanted to surprise him, to give us something to hold on to, something new, something real. But when I called him on the way here, he didn't answer. No missed calls, no texts back. Just silence. I sent him message after message, trying to keep my voice steady even though my heart was screaming. "Please, call me. Where are you? Are you okay?" Nothing. I drove with no destination in mind, but the path in my head was clear. I knew where to go. To the apartment we'd rented before we bought our house, the place full of memories, where we used to dream and plan. Daniel sometimes worked there when he needed quiet. Maybe he was there tonight. Maybe I could find answers. When I pulled up, his car was parked just outside. My stomach dropped. I hadn't been there in months. The building looked the same, the windows dark behind the curtains, The hallway smelled faintly of old carpet and something sweet I didn't recognize. I stood in the entrance for a moment, listening. The silence pressed on me like a weight, thick, heavy, impossible to ignore. I opened the door slowly. Inside, the apartment was dim, lit only by a small lamp on the kitchen counter. The air smelled faintly floral, perfume, but not mine. A scent I recognized but didn't want to place. On the coffee table were 2 half-empty wine glasses. One had lipstick on the rim, bright red. Not mine. My breath caught in my throat. I stepped forward cautiously, trying not to disturb anything, but my heart was pounding so loud I was sure it would give me away. The couch cushions were thrown around. A blanket lay crumpled on the floor. Near the dining table, I saw it. A single high heel, nude-colored, elegant and out of place. And then I heard it. Laughter. Soft, quiet, intimate. Not from a TV. Real. A woman's laughter. I froze. My whole body went cold. I recognized the voice immediately. Claire, the therapist, the woman I had trusted with my marriage, the one I brought into our lives to help us fix what was broken. And now, here she was, laughing with Daniel in the place we once called ours. I stood there, unable to move. You've heard people say their blood ran cold? It's not a saying. It's real. I could feel it in every nerve ending, spreading ice through my veins, freezing my thoughts, shrinking my heart. For a long moment, I just listened. Then I heard his voice, low, soft, different, less guarded, more familiar in a way that broke something inside me. They were close, too close, and I didn't need to see any more. I turned away slowly, barely able to breathe. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the box with the baby socks against the wall, even though every part of me wanted to. I just walked out. Outside, the rain had stopped. The street was quiet, wet, reflecting the city lights like a shattered mirror. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, trembling. Memories of all the little moments, the laughter, the promises, the dreams, crashed over me in waves, and then I remembered the message. Are you sure you want to walk into this blind? Someone knew. Someone had tried to warn me, but I was already too deep. Now I could never go back. Now I saw everything, too clearly. I didn't sleep that night. Not a minute. I sat in the darkness of our bedroom, the little velvet box lying on the bedside table like a silent accusation. The baby socks inside seemed so fragile, so innocent, a symbol of hope now stained with betrayal. I kept asking myself, how long? How long has this been going on? How could he? Why her? And most haunting of all, what about me? I remembered all those times I'd tried to hold us together. The late-night arguments, the silent dinners, the therapy sessions. I was the one who brought Claire into our lives. I was the one who begged Daniel to get help. I thought I was fighting for us. But maybe I was fighting alone. I looked at Daniel's phone on the charger, dark and silent. Part of me wanted to check it, to find some proof. Another part screamed that I shouldn't, that whatever I found would break me even more. I didn't know who I was anymore. The wife who believed in forever? Or a stranger left out in the cold? The apartment, the laughter, the glasses, the shoe, they haunted me. Every detail burned into my mind like a wound that wouldn't heal. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run away and never come back. But I couldn't, because inside me was something else, too. Something fierce, something unwilling to give up without a fight. I remembered the message. Are you sure you want to walk into this blind? They tried to warn me, and maybe, just maybe, I wasn't ready to face it. But now I was awake. Now I was seeing everything, every lie, every secret, every fracture, and I had a choice. I could fall apart, or I could fight. I thought about telling him what I knew, to confront him, scream, demand answers. But what if he denied it? What if he begged for forgiveness and I was left broken anyway? Or worse, what if I lost myself in the anger? So instead, I decided to wait, to watch, to gather strength. I would not make any rash decisions. Not yet. I spent the next day going through old photos, reading through our messages, trying to find any clue I'd missed, pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. And in the quiet moments, I allowed myself to dream of a future where maybe, somehow, we could heal, where the baby inside me would be a new beginning, not the end. But the truth was clear. Nothing would ever be the same, and I wasn't sure if that scared me more than the betrayal, or less. I spent the whole day waiting for Daniel to come home. Every second felt like an eternity. My mind raced in circles, questions, fears, memories flooding all at once. I kept pacing around the house, touching the walls as if they could steady me. The little velvet box sat on the kitchen counter, untouched. Like a fragile promise I wasn't sure I still believed in, I tried to replay every conversation, every glance from the last few weeks. Had I missed the signs, the distance, the silence? When the front door finally opened, I stopped breathing. He walked in slowly, tired and distracted. His eyes caught mine, that smile, hesitant but hopeful. The same smile that had once made me feel safe and loved, but now it felt like a mask, something broken behind it. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced myself to speak, my voice barely above a whisper. "Daniel, we need to talk." He froze, confusion and fear washing over his face like waves. For a moment, the room felt unbearably still, like the world was holding its breath. I saw the guilt in his eyes before he said a word. He didn't deny it. He didn't try to lie. Instead, I told him everything. How I found the apartment key still on the hook, how his car was there that night, the smell of perfume that wasn't mine, the wine glasses, one with lipstick, the single high heel by the chair. I told him about the laughter I heard, Claire's voice, the woman I trusted, the one we brought in to save us. His face went pale. He looked away, ashamed. "I'm so sorry, Emma," he said quietly, his voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt you." I could see the cracks in him, the man who'd built walls to hide behind. But the words felt hollow to me. Empty apologies don't erase broken trust. Then I told him about the pregnancy test, the secret I'd kept, the hope I'd held on to, even now. He looked at me like I was a stranger. For a moment, I caught a glimpse of the man I once knew, but it disappeared fast. The silence that followed was suffocating, heavy with everything we hadn't said. I asked him why. Why Claire? Why the betrayal? His voice trembled as he tried to explain. He said he was lost, confused, that it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to reach out, to find the man I fell in love with beneath the pain. But the hurt was too deep. We argued. Words like knives cut through the quiet house. Tears fell. Voices rose. I told him I needed time, to breathe, to think, to figure out if our marriage was worth saving. That night I packed a bag, clothes, my favorite book, the velvet box with the baby socks. I left before he woke. I drove without direction, tears blurring my vision. I didn't know if we could survive this, if the man I loved was gone. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I wasn't going to pretend the betrayal didn't shatter me. I would fight. For myself. For the baby inside me. For whatever hope remained. However small. After I left that night, I was swallowed by silence. No familiar sounds of Daniel's footsteps. No soft murmur of his voice calling my name. Only the quiet. The kind that presses down and makes your chest ache. I was alone with my thoughts. With the city lights twinkling through the window, indifferent to the storm inside me. Every day felt like walking through a fog. Some mornings I woke up and the pain was sharp and raw, like a fresh wound. Other times it was a dull ache, a heavy weight I carried with me everywhere I went. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over. How did it come to this? Was I not enough? Could I have done something differently? The memories came crashing back. The laughter we shared on lazy Sundays, the way he used to hold me when I was scared, the plans we made for the future, a house, children, a lifetime. And then the betrayal, the lies, the way everything shattered in an instant. I found myself trapped between two worlds, the past, filled with love and hope, and the present, filled with hurt and uncertainty. Friends and family tried to help. They said things like, "You deserve better," or "Time will heal all wounds." But those words felt distant, because this wasn't just about Daniel or Claire, it was about me, my heart, my soul. Some nights I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if forgiveness was possible. Could I ever trust him again? Could I let go of the anger that consumed me? Other nights, I felt a flicker of hope, a tiny light that whispered, "Maybe we can find our way back." I remembered the pregnancy test, that moment of trembling hands and hopeful tears, the velvet box with the tiny socks inside, soft and delicate. I held that box like a lifeline, a reminder that life goes on, that there is still something pure and new amidst the wreckage. One evening, I sat by the window, watching the rain fall softly against the glass. I opened the box again and traced the soft fabric of the socks with my finger. I whispered to the tiny life inside me, "I want to be strong for you. No matter what happens, you deserve a future filled with love." And then it hit me. My choice wasn't about Daniel. It wasn't about Claire. It was about me. I could stay, try to rebuild what was broken, piece together the fragments of trust, one painful day at a time. Or I could leave, walk away from the life I thought I wanted, and find a new path, one where I could heal, grow, and maybe, one day, love again. Neither path was easy. Neither path was without pain or sacrifice. But I had to be honest with myself. I had to ask, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want for myself and my child? The answer wasn't clear, but I knew one thing. I needed time. Time to heal. Time to find myself again. Time to learn how to live with the scars and come out stronger. So I told Daniel, not with anger or blame, but with quiet strength, that I needed space, that I needed to figure out who I was without him. He listened. He didn't beg or plead. He just nodded, and for the first time, I felt the weight start to lift. Because in that moment, I realized something important. No matter what happens next, I have the power to choose, to shape my future, to create a life where I am whole again, where I can be happy, on my own terms. And that hope, fragile but fierce, is enough to keep me moving forward. Even when the nights are long and the pain feels endless, I remind myself, I am not defined by his betrayal. I am not broken beyond repair. I am stronger than I ever knew. And this is just the beginning of my story.